When God is about to bless you, He will never allow you to remain in comfort. The first sign of a coming blessing is discomfort. The familiar begins to feel wrong. The places you once enjoyed start to drain you. The conversations you once entertained no longer feed your soul. That's not boredom. It's separation. God is pulling you away from what is beneath your destiny. When you are chosen for greatness, God makes you uncomfortable in average places. You start to feel an inner push, a spiritual stirring that says, there is more. That's God awakening the seed inside you. You are being shifted from convenience to conviction. Do not fight the discomfort. It's the labor pain before birth. The blessing you prayed for is about to arrive, but you must be willing to leave the old womb of familiarity. The second sign appears when isolation becomes your new classroom. Suddenly, people begin to disappear. Those you trusted distance themselves. The phone becomes silent. The support you once had seems to vanish. It feels like rejection, but it's redirection. God removes people not because He wants to punish you, but because He wants to protect you. Every blessing comes with exposure, and God knows that not everyone around you can handle the light He is about to place upon you. So He isolates you not to make you lonely, but to make you listen. In isolation, you stop hearing the noise of the crowd and start discerning the voice of God. It is in solitude that God whispers the next step, reveals hidden enemies, and strengthens your spiritual backbone. The blessing requires privacy before it is made public. So when people walk away, don't chase them. Thank God. The fewer the hands in your life, the easier it is for Him to shape you. The third sign that God is about to bless you is when your enemies suddenly multiply. You may wonder, why now? Why do people suddenly turn against me? Because every elevation invites opposition. God uses enemies as instruments of acceleration. When your name starts to be spoken in rooms you've never entered, when you start facing resistance without reason, know this, your blessing is close. The enemy only fights what threatens him. If you were insignificant, you would not be attacked. But when the blessing of God is about to manifest, forces rise to test your endurance, your patience, and your faith. You are not being destroyed, you are being trained. God allows resistance not to break you, but to build you. Every false accusation, every betrayal, every misunderstanding is part of your preparation. The greater the warfare, the greater the reward. Then comes the fourth sign, the divine test of faith. When God is about to bless you, He tests your trust. Doors that should open seem locked. Prayers seem unanswered. The blessing feels delayed. But God does not delay to deny. He delays to strengthen your spirit. He wants to see if you trust His timing more than your own desire. Many lose their blessing at this stage because they quit too soon. They stop praying when heaven is one command away from release. The test is designed to refine your faith. God asks, will you still believe when nothing seems to work? Will you still worship when the evidence of your blessing is invisible? Those who endure this stage are the ones who receive the fullness of the promise. Because faith is not proven in abundance, it is proven in absence. When you can trust God in silence, you are ready for His sound of breakthrough. The fifth sign appears when divine clarity enters your confusion. After a long season of uncertainty, suddenly your mind becomes still. The fog lifts. You begin to see purpose in pain, meaning in your waiting, and lessons in your losses. This is God opening your spiritual eyes. Blessings do not come to the blind. They come to those who can discern. God reveals the why behind the struggle, and everything begins to make sense. You realize that every rejection was protection, every delay was direction, every loss was preparation. When this revelation comes, you feel a peace that surpasses understanding. That peace is not ordinary. It is the mark of divine order. God never blesses confusion. He blesses clarity. When you begin to understand the lessons of your past, it means God is preparing you to handle the weight of your future. Then comes the sixth sign, the sudden acceleration. What once took years begins to happen in moments. Things you prayed for start aligning faster than you expected. The right people appear. The right opportunities show up. The right doors open. It's as if time begins to cooperate with your destiny. That's not luck. That's divine orchestration. God compresses time when the preparation is complete. What took others decades, you will accomplish in months. When God is ready to bless you, He redeems lost time. Every delay, every setback, every disappointment suddenly begins to make sense because you realize nothing was wasted. You were being positioned, trained, and matured for this moment. This is why patience is power. It allows God to perfect what you are praying for. The seventh and final sign is spiritual elevation. Your inner life begins to rise before your outer life changes. You feel a shift in your spirit. Your desires change. You crave peace more than popularity. You value purpose more than possessions. You start detaching from superficial pursuits. This is not weakness. It is maturity. God always blesses the soul before the situation. When your heart aligns with divine principles, when your spirit is purified of pride, bitterness, and doubt, then God releases what was being withheld. Blessings are not only gifts, they are responsibilities. And God cannot entrust heavy blessings to hearts still carrying old burdens. When you feel the inner transformation, it means the outer manifestation is near. Your thoughts become clearer. Your faith becomes stronger. Your soul feels lighter. That is the spiritual confirmation that the blessing is already on its way. Now listen carefully. When God is about to bless you, He doesn't announce it to the world. He announces it to your spirit. That quiet knowing you feel, that strange calm in the middle of chaos, that unexplainable confidence when things look uncertain, that is divine assurance. You are not imagining it. You are not overthinking it. That is God telling you, stay still. I am working. Many people lose their blessing because they misinterpret stillness as stagnation. But stillness is the most powerful posture of faith. It is the moment when heaven is moving on your behalf, even though the earth looks silent. God works in the unseen before He reveals in the seen. So do not doubt the silence. It is a sacred space of creation. Sometimes before the blessing, you will also experience spiritual warfare in your mind. Doubt will whisper, nothing is changing. Fear will echo, what if it never happens? But faith will rise and say, God is faithful. When these thoughts come, understand your breakthrough is close. The enemy always attacks the mind right before manifestation. He knows that if he can control your thoughts, he can stop your progress. But when you resist negativity, when you silence fear with faith, you prove to God that you are ready for the next level. The mind is the battlefield, and the blessing belongs to those who master it. Guard your thoughts as treasures, for they shape your destiny. God is precise. He blesses at the right moment, not the convenient one. You may be in a waiting season, but that doesn't mean you are forgotten. You are being prepared. A blessing too early becomes a burden. That's why God sometimes withholds what you desire most, because He wants to protect what He placed inside you. Every delay carries divine design. The blessing is not late, it is being perfected. You must hold faith, even when it looks like nothing is moving, because in the spiritual realm, everything is already set. God is aligning resources, moving hearts, and rearranging circumstances to ensure that when your blessing arrives, it cannot be stolen, reversed, or destroyed. When God is about to bless you, you will also sense unusual peace during storms. This peace is not logical, it is divine. It comes from knowing that the outcome is already written in your favor. You stop worrying about timelines, you stop comparing your journey to others, you rest in trust, and that rest becomes your strength. Many think blessings are only about material things, but true blessings begin within. When you have peace that cannot be shaken, that is the foundation of abundance. God always works from the inside out. When your spirit is calm, your environment must align. That is spiritual law. Some of you are standing right now on the edge of breakthrough, but you are interpreting your test as failure. You are looking at the temporary storm and thinking God has forgotten you. But storms are not signs of rejection. They are signs of transition. When the wind gets stronger, it means you are about to lift higher. You cannot rise without resistance. God sends winds to uproot you from places where you've stayed too long. That discomfort, that loss, that delay, it's not punishment. It's the push toward your next level. You prayed for a blessing, but you didn't know that blessings are often wrapped in battles. God hides blessings behind challenges to see who truly trusts Him. So if your life feels like a storm, rejoice. The greater the turbulence, the closer you are to elevation. Understand this truth: blessings are not accidents. They are rewards for alignment. When your life begins to reflect divine order, when your words, your actions, and your intentions start matching what God expects, He releases overflow. Many pray for blessings but live in disobedience. But God blesses order, not confusion. He blesses faith, not fear. He blesses surrender, not stubbornness. When you stop fighting His will and start flowing with His plan, you will see the floodgates open. The blessing was never far. It was just waiting for your obedience. God cannot release what your character cannot sustain. So every season of testing, every delay, every pruning, it was preparing you to hold the blessing without losing yourself. The moment before a blessing is always the hardest. Everything in you wants to give up. The pressure increases, the silence grows, and doubt creeps in. But that is when you must hold your faith tighter than ever. Because the darkest hour is always right before dawn. When you feel like quitting, that's the sign you are closest to victory. God often waits until you are fully surrendered before He acts. He wants to bless not your pride, but your purity. When you say, God, even if you don't give me what I want, I still trust you. That's when the heavens open. That level of surrender activates divine release. And when the blessing finally comes, it won't be subtle. It will be undeniable. Everything you lost will begin to return in better form. Relationships will heal. Opportunities will appear. Doors you never knocked on will open. People who once overlooked, you will be forced to recognize what God has done in your life. You won't need to prove yourself. Your transformation will speak for itself. That's how God works. He blesses you publicly after refining you privately. He makes your story a testimony of His power. When God is about to bless you, you will notice one last thing. Your heart will no longer chase what is temporary. You will crave purpose. You will long to serve, to give, to uplift others. Because real blessings are never just for you. They are meant to flow through you. God blesses vessels that are open, not containers that are closed. When you become a channel of goodness, He keeps pouring more into your life. The more you give, the more you grow. The more you share, the more He multiplies. That is how divine multiplication works. It begins with a generous heart. God never gives to the selfish. He gives to those who reflect His spirit of abundance. Every pain, every tear, every lonely night, every silent prayer, it was not wasted. God saw it. He counted every sigh. He heard every word you couldn't even speak. And now, the time has come for you to rise. The signs are already around you. The discomfort, the isolation, the clarity, the peace. Don't misread them. They are proof that the blessing is near. You are about to walk into a season where what was once impossible will suddenly become inevitable. Stay still. Stay faithful. Stay ready. God is about to bless you beyond measure. And when He does, no one will be able to deny that it was His hand upon your life. When God is preparing to bless you, He begins by shifting your spiritual atmosphere long before your physical reality changes. It's a sacred rearrangement, often misunderstood as chaos. But in truth, it is divine order forming beneath the surface. What feels like delay is actually God realigning every piece of your life to fit the blueprint of your destiny. You are not being ignored. You are being refined. You are not being punished. You are being perfected. Every challenge, every setback, every moment of silence carries an invisible purpose. God hides His greatest blessings in seasons that seem barren, so that only those who truly trust Him will endure long enough to receive them. You see, when God decides to bless a person, He first breaks the limits of their thinking. The human mind can only hold what it believes is possible. If your thoughts are small, your blessings will be too. So God begins to stretch your faith. He makes you dream bigger, hope deeper, and believe beyond logic. That stretching hurts. It feels like pressure. It feels like confusion. But that's God expanding your capacity. A small vessel cannot hold a large blessing. The discomfort you feel is not destruction, it's enlargement. God is teaching you how to carry the weight of what He's about to release. When He enlarges your vision, it's a sign that your environment is about to change. Sometimes, before God blesses you, He must confront what you've settled for. Many people stop at survival when they were destined for significance. They accept little because they fear loss. But God cannot fill a heart that clings to comfort. He calls you out of the familiar to show you the extraordinary. He removes what you thought you needed to prove to you that His provision is enough. When you lose something or someone, it's often because your blessing demands a new foundation. God will not build destiny on a cracked surface. He clears, He removes, He prunes, not to harm you, but to strengthen the structure of your life. The pruning feels painful, but it is proof that you are fertile. Only fruitful trees are pruned. When God is about to bless you, your discernment heightens. You start seeing things for what they truly are, not what you wished they were. He sharpens your spirit to detect what does not belong in your next season. The same conversations that once entertained you start to irritate your soul. The same habits that once felt harmless begin to disturb your peace. That is divine conviction. It's not guilt, it's guidance. God is showing you that you cannot carry the old version of yourself into the new season. The blessing requires a purified heart and a disciplined mind. The same way gold must pass through fire before it shines, your character must pass through testing before it qualifies for the next level. And when that testing comes, don't misinterpret it as punishment. Tests are the final gates before blessings. God will test your patience, your humility, your endurance, and your ability to remain faithful in silence. He wants to know, can you handle being overlooked without becoming bitter? Can you celebrate others while you are still waiting? Can you obey even when you don't understand? These questions are not for God's sake. They are for yours. They reveal the strength of your heart. Every test is an invitation for elevation. If you fail, He doesn't discard you. He trains you again. Because God is not after perfection. He is after progression. When the blessing is near, God often sends signs through your emotions. You start to feel a holy restlessness, a divine discontentment with where you are. It's as if your spirit knows that something greater is calling. You may wake up in the night with a fire in your chest. You may feel drawn to pray, to fast, to reflect, to withdraw from noise. That is the inner voice of destiny, whispering that your blessing is in motion. Do not suppress that calling with distraction. When God awakens your spirit, respond with obedience. The blessing you seek is tied to the level of your spiritual sensitivity. If you ignore His nudge, you delay your own breakthrough. But when you